Okay, this is the second routine in this series devoted to Bessey sequences and the Gilbreath Principle. So I have here 8 cards, and so what we're going to do is we're going to create 2 piles of 4 cards each. Okay, that will be kind of the first step. Now, since the cards may be known to me, I thought maybe we should go ahead and mix these up a little bit. So why don't we perform the Klondike Shuffle. That's a good way of taking the bottom and top cards off as one. Maybe an LR shuffle. How would you like those stacked? Right on left? Okay, very good. So what I need you to do now is I'm going to push off the top 2 cards. Which of these 2 would you like as yours? Top? Okay. Next 2. Which one? You want the bottom as yours this time? What about these 2? The bottom again? Okay, and what about the final 2? Top for you. Okay, that's very good. Okay, so we have these 2 piles of 4 cards each. How would you like these stacked? You want me to stack mine on top of yours or vice versa? You want mine on top of yours? Okay, that's good. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and just mix these further. This is called the Charlier Shuffle. It's called a top to bottom, bottom to top, top to bottom kind of shuffle. Okay. And it really does scramble the cards quite well. Now we're going to perform an interesting shuffle. Technically, it's an in-hand Gilbreath shuffle is what it is. So what I need you to do is I need you to go ahead and tell me, should I draw a card from the top and put it on the table, or draw from the bottom and put it on the table? And you can draw from the top or bottom more than once. So you just tell me top or bottom. You want bottom? Okay, bottom card down. Top. Top again, okay. Now what? Bottom, top, top again, and bottom, and then the last card goes on top. Okay, very, very good. Well, you would have to agree that really no one could really follow these cards, even if they happened to have known what the cards looked like at the very beginning. And I honestly can tell you, I have no idea where the cards are in this little packet. But I thought we would just mix the cards further. We're going to do what's called a triangle deal. So I'll go ahead and kind of deal them out in that way, which is a fun way to scramble the cards. And at this point, we're really going to have you participate. Now, since you're not here, I can't have you randomly choose from our list of shuffles and have those shuffles performed on our packet. So we're going to leave that decision up to chance. Okay, so I have this 20-sided die that we'll roll to decide on which shuffles we'll use and what order and what quantity. Okay, so a 6. What's a 6 here? Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Just a left-right shuffle. LR shuffle, it's called. Would you like left on right or right on left? Right on left? Okay, let's do another one here. Any of these. 17. Oh, push off pairs. That's what the POP stands off. Push off pairs. So what you do here is you just push off the cards as in pairs, and then you're free to stack these from left to right or right to left, or even leapfrog stacking, which is kind of a fun way to stack. You want to go from left to right? And do you want to do a leapfrog stacking? No, just regular, okay, left to right, that's just fine. We'll go ahead and do that, okay? Let's go ahead and see what else the universe wants us to do. 10. Oh, that's a mange shuffle. So this comes in 2 varieties, an over-under and an under-over. Which would you like? Under-over? Okay, so you push the first card into your other hand, and then you go under, over, under, over, under, over, under. So that is a mange, under, over. Okay, why don't we do 2 more maybe? 10. Do you want to do another mange or roll again? Roll again? Okay. Okay, why don't we call that a 9 there? It's hard to tell on the die between a 9 and, well, I guess technically it's a 6 there, right? Because of the dot there. I had never noticed that little dot there. Okay, well, what was the 6? Oh, that's the left, right. Okay, he's hoping to get something different. Okay, you want right on left this time. That's just fine. Okay, let's see if Lady Luck can give us something different. Oh, okay, 20. That's a Bessie 2-2. This is where you hold the cards in what's called biddle grip, and you take the top 2 cards off one at a time. You go from the top 1, 2, from the bottom 1, 2, top 1, 2, from the bottom 1, 2. Okay, let's do one more here. That is a 9. Finally, we got something different. That's a Charlier 1. So this is where you push over 1 card at a time. It's similar to the Charlier I did just a few moments ago, but here you just move 1 card. Would you like to roll the die one more time to try to get a different shuffle? You would. Okay. 11. Okay, good. So we got an up jog. So this is where you can push forward, let's say, the even position cards. Jog those forward. You strip those out and then randomly stack. Do you want left on right or right on left? Left on right? Okay, very, very good. Boy, these cards must be beyond the knowledge of anyone. But nonetheless, we'll just continue our crazy mixing of this packet. Okay, so we're doing that triangle deal another time. And then let's do a final Klondike shuffle. This is where you take the top and bottom off as 1. That's a very nice shuffle. And then we're going to deal out, for the last time here, a left and right pile. But we won't stack them. This is how we'll get our 2 piles of 4 cards each. Okay, so what is it that I was hoping to accomplish despite the random choices that you've made, or in the case of the die, the random choices made by the universe in mixing this packet? Well, what I hope to accomplish, despite all of that randomization, I hope to create 2 piles of 4 cards each where we have exactly 1 club, 1 heart, 1 spade, and 1 diamond in this pile, and the same thing for this pile. What are the chances that that would happen by chance alone? Not very likely. Let's see how we did. Check that out. Diamond, spade, heart, club. How in heaven's name is that even possible? Okay, well, it's possible because of Bessey sequences and the Gilbreath Principle. That's why it's possible. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the tutorial for this one. We'll show you how it's performed and what's going on under the hood. So the first step is to begin with, now I decided last minute to change how I was going to initially begin this routine. So I kind of added a little twist right at the start is what I did. So what I'm suggesting here is something similar to what we did for routine 1, where you openly begin with 4 pairs of cards, where within each pair the cards are of the same suits. So clubs, hearts, spades, diamonds. Well, what I did differently is I went ahead and just stacked these randomly, actually, just stacked them randomly. And then we performed this KLR shuffle. Okay, it's not mentioned on the write-up, but let me just set this down for a second, and I'm going to come over here and get another page to show you. What I thought I would do here is just remind the viewer who's been watching some of the videos on the Hidden Structures channel that the structure that we had here when we randomly stacked those pairs of cards, we technically had an AMP structure. AMP stands for adjacent mirrored pairs. So it's like we had a King of Hearts, Queen of Hearts, King of Spades, Queen of Spades, and so forth, okay? Well, it ends up that this structure here can be shuffled in the following way and still preserve this characteristic here. You can perform a Klondike shuffle followed by an LR shuffle in which you stack the left pile on top of the right or the right pile on top of the left. So in some sense, those two shuffles together are the identity permutation relative to this structure type. Okay, so it preserves this structure. Okay, so this structure is invariant under that pairing of shuffles. Okay, so I kind of threw that in even though it's not written on the write-up here. So you wouldn't have to do that, but it just adds a little bit more believability to the fact that really no one could know where these cards are, even if we happen to have known what these cards are at the beginning, like we did with this reworking of the effect, where I actually showed you what's there. Okay, so we're at this point here. Okay, what I'm suggesting here, boy, I kind of did it differently, didn't I? Okay, here we go. So this will essentially be another way of beginning this whole thing. So you can do it the way that I did it in the performance itself. What I'm suggesting here, I'm just kind of remembering what the write-up was. A lot of times I'll think of maybe a better way of doing things right before filming, and then I'll kind of add a twist to it. But what I had in mind at the beginning was starting like this, okay, and then asking the spectator to randomly choose one card from each of the piles. So maybe they'll choose this one for me, and they'll keep that one. Which other card can I have for my pile? This one? Okay, very good. You'll keep that one. You want me to have the Queen of Hearts? That's just fine. You can keep the King of Hearts. Which of these should I have, and which one should you have? You would like the Queen. Okay, that's very good, and I'll keep the King. Okay, so what we've done here is we've created two coupled piles, right? Because at each level here, we have the same suit. We have a club, diamond, heart, spade. Now, if we randomly stack these, this is technically a two-cycle structure. Let me bring my paper back again for educational purposes here. So essentially, we have this kind of structure. Well, you may know that when you have a two-cycle, you can perform a Charlier shuffle, or just randomly cut the cards. So a Charlier shuffle is where you push over any number of cards from the top, and it's bottom to top, top to bottom, bottom to top. Okay, so it's a very messy looking shuffle, but in fact, all of the movement of the cards that you're seeing here is actually equivalent to just cutting the packet at some location. And packet cuts do not harm cyclic constructions. So in particular, what we'll see is we still have a repeating pattern of suits. Clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades. Clubs, diamonds, hearts, spades. So this is still a two-cycle structure. Well, that's the kind of structure you need for the Gilbreath principle to apply. Okay, so in routine 1, we performed a Gilbreath shuffle by dealing a certain number of cards to the table, dropping the other ones as a second pile, and then we either riffle shuffle those or rosette shuffle those together. Okay, that's one way to perform the steps necessary for a Gilbreath shuffle. Another way is something called an in-hand Gilbreath shuffle. And this is actually what I did in this performance today. I gave you the option to go ahead and draw a card from the top or bottom, more than once if you would like, to create a new ordering for the cards. So maybe you'll say top, top again, maybe bottom, top, bottom, bottom, top, last card goes on top. Now, as you can check, what we have done there is equivalent to dealing out a certain number of cards and then riffle shuffling those two halves together, or rosette shuffling those two halves together. In other words, that is a legitimate Gilbreath shuffle. Well, what does that do? What's the conclusion for a Gilbreath performance? Well, if you have a cyclic packet like we did, we had a repeating of the suits twice, then what that would mean is if you take off the number of cards in one of those cycles, and the cycle length was 4, right, because 4 suits, what will happen, in fact, what will have to happen, is you'll have 1 of each suit in each of those sets of 4, okay? So club, heart, spade, diamond. Club, heart, spade, diamond. Now, we're not so worried about the order now, okay? The Gilbreath Principle does not guarantee that the ordering of these suits will be the same, but just that you'll have 1 of each suit in the 2 piles of 4. That is what the Gilbreath Principle guarantees, which in and of itself is most remarkable. If you look at the freedom the spectator is given to just scramble those cards, but the Gilbreath Principle comes to the rescue and says, no matter what choices you made in that process of Gilbreath shuffling the cards, this kind of outcome is guaranteed. Okay, so this is where we are. So this is technically a post Gilbreath shuffled packet. Now, in the study of Bessie sequences, the viewer may know that if we have a structure like this, where the top 4 are in some sense part of a set, and the bottom 4 are in some sense part of a set. Now, the sets that we're talking about here is the fact that there's 1 of each suit here, and there's 1 of each suit here. When you have such a structure, if we perform this triangle deal, what it does is it converts it to a Bessie sequence, and here it will be of length 8. So you stack in opposite order to which you dealt, and this is guaranteed to now be a Bessie sequence relative to those 2 sets of cards that resulted from the Gilbreath shuffled packet. Okay? Well, if this is a Bessie sequence, in fact, maybe let's go ahead and show you that that's the case. Do you remember what a Bessie sequence is? It's that special sequence 1001 0110. Okay, so let me just kind of show you that here. So this would be like top card we'd label as a 1. This would be labeled as a 0, and then a 1. Now this will be a 0, and then a couple of 1s, followed by a 0. Okay, so that is the fundamental structure of a Bessie sequence. Okay, well, how does that relate here? Well, the top cards are associated with the number 1, and the bottom cards are associated with the number 0. So in the end, we're going to separate, quote, the 1s, namely this one, this one, this one, and this one, into one group. Well, look, these 4 cards consist of 1 card of each suit. The same thing for, quote, the 0s, the bottom level here. We have club, heart, diamond, spade. Okay, so this is technically a Bessie sequence relative to those 2 halves that resulted from the Gilbreath shuffling of our cyclic packet. Okay, and so now once we know it's a Bessie sequence, oh boy, you can put it through so many different shuffles that are intended genuinely to randomize cards, but they will not harm a Bessie sequence structure. They may invert it, which is essentially switching the 0s for 1s and 1s for 0s, but that will not undermine the fundamental structure of a Bessie arrangement of the cards. Okay? And so at this point, because it is a, quote, Bessie sequence, we can perform, and this is just a few of the Bessie shuffles that are allowed, we can perform any one of these in any order or in any quantity, and it will not harm the fundamental structure of this being a Bessie sequence. Okay, so we can just randomize and see, once again, I guess that's a 6 there. 6 was an LR, okay? So you can try this on your own. Perform as many of these shuffles as you like, and these shuffles are all demonstrated in various places on the Hidden Structures channel. Maybe you'll ask for right on left. Okay, that's just fine. The Bessie sequence structure is unharmed. 8. Okay, this is a new one. 50% cut. Well, this is where you just take the top half and move it to the bottom. Kind of a simple action. 7. Okay, 7 is an RC shuffle. In this case, what it means is deal out into 4 piles where we can stack from left to right, right to left, or leapfrog stacking. Would you like to go from, you want to go left to right, okay? Leapfrog, you remember how that works? You do, okay. So this is how a leapfrog stacking works. This pile leaps over its neighbor and lands on that one. This one leaps over its neighbor and lands on top of that one. And then random stacking here. You want right on left? Okay, why don't we do just one more? A 17. I don't think we've done that one, or maybe we have. So push off pairs. Okay, I think we actually did this one. This is where you push off 2 cards, and then we can stack however you like. You want to stack just right to left, no leapfrog. Okay. Okay. Now, since I think we did that one in the original routine, why don't we go again here? Okay. So 3 is a Klondike. That's a very good shuffle. Okay, it's a famous shuffle. And in many ways, it performs a mixing of the cards that none of the other ones achieve. So it really is a great shuffle. Okay, well, that's enough, but you can perform any of these in any order or quantity. Now, since this is a Bessie sequence, to get it back to what I've called a post-Gilbreath shuffled packet, let's go ahead and just kind of remind you, okay, so this is after this triangle dealing here, it becomes a Bessie sequence. That's why we could do all those shuffles and not harm things. And now if you perform the triangle deal a second time, it reverses that and it changes it back to a post-Gilbreath shuffled like packet. Okay. Okay, so you just do the triangle deal again. That's 3 piles. You stack in opposite order. Okay, so here we're just going counterclockwise instead of clockwise. Okay, very good. Okay, now it's back to a post-Gilbreath shuffled packet for a 2 cycle. Okay, what does that mean? Well, that just means that the top ones here consist of cards of different suits and the bottom ones as well, okay? But what I decided to do was go ahead and perform a Klondike shuffle after doing this. Now, the use of a Klondike shuffle here is a bit more subtle than what we've talked about so far. So let me just show you. This is a post-Gilbreath shuffled structure. So we have 1 of each suit. Of course, 1 of each suit here, okay? So if we now Klondike shuffle this and then LR deal, those 2 together on a structure type where you have the top 4 that you're trying to kind of keep separate from the bottom 4, a Klondike shuffle will put the top 4 cards in an alternating relationship with the bottom 4. And then the LR deal goes through and completely pulls them apart again. Okay, so in fact, I think I probably will put together a separate video on that principle because it's such a useful principle. Okay, so if we go ahead and Klondike shuffle this, it puts the top and bottom 4 in like an alternating order. And then if you think about left-right, it undoes the alternation of cards, right? It puts all the odd position cards in one pile and all the even position cards in the other. Okay, so that's kind of the engine driving this final little stage of the performance. So you perform a Klondike. Now, in some ways, performing this is going to befuddle just about anyone who knows some of what is on my channel, but not understand it very well. Okay, because really this to perform a Klondike shuffle on this particular packet, virtually anyone out there would assume, oh, okay, you've destroyed things, because it wasn't a Bessie sequence that's invariant under the Klondike shuffle, as we talked about. But if you turn around now and deal left, right, you undo the effect of the Klondike shuffle, putting the top and bottom halves into an alternating relationship in the packet. Okay, so now they're essentially back to where they were. Okay, and then here we say don't stack them. Okay, and then you have your reveal. You make a big deal about it. You maybe pretend that you're sensing something here. You have the 2 piles of 4 cards that, oh boy, think about all of the mixing, randomization, and free choices that were made along the way by the spectator that brought us to this point. And then you as a performer can claim that you're going to try to divine anything interesting about these 2 piles of 4 cards, or all the kings here and all the queens there, or something like that, and so you can pretend that you're getting some. No, I don't think that's true. I don't think these are all one color. In fact, I think half of these are red and half of them are black. I'm getting that impression. Same thing here. Half of these are red. But which is which? Oh, wait a second. I think there's one of each suit. That's how you could get half of them red and half of them black. There's actually one of each suit. What are the chances that that would happen after all of those random choices and the crazy mixing we put the cards through? Look at that. That's exactly what has happened. Each pile of 4 consists of one of each suit. Okay, so that is the second routine, and in some ways I kind of showed you a third routine. So I have this second routine as written up, will work just great, and then because of the little twists I put on my performance of this routine, it's almost like you have another third routine that you could actually do. But there is a third routine coming up. And we're going to be shifting gears a little bit for the remaining videos in this little series. In fact, why don't I go ahead and just give you a glimpse as to what we're going to do in the next video in this series. Okay, so the final 3 routines, so this will be routine 3, 4, and 5, are based on entirely different but recently discovered property of Bessey's sequences, and that is indeed true. I stumbled on this just days ago. Okay, so given a 2-cycle or a mirrored or an AMP packet of 8 cards, or any odd power of 2 number of cards, mentally imposing a Bessey sequence structure on the packet, even though it's a 2-cycle, or it could be mirrored, or it could be an AMP, but we're going to mentally impose this 10010110 structure on it. Mentally imposing a Bessey sequence structure on the packet will not only identify 2 post-Gilbreath-like portions of the packet, but it will consequently permit the application of any number of Bessey shuffles in any order whatsoever, and still maintain the above identification of 2 post-Gilbreath-like portions of the packet. Okay, so in other words, we're going to achieve the outcome of a Gilbreath performance without performing a Gilbreath shuffle. And it's going to work regardless of whether the structure is a 2-cycle or a mirrored packet or an AMP packet, which is just beyond belief, actually. Okay, so we're going to just impose that structure on it and show that we can finish with the same wonderful ending that you get with a Gilbreath performance. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I hope you take a look at the third video in this series as soon as it comes out. So thank you again.